Hey guys, well, I think we're live. It's not telling me if we are or not. It's just spinning in circles. So, okay, we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest tonight. He's a good friend of mine. He's the founder of the Full Disclosure Network. I have with me Brian Singh, and I just wrote a small thing about it. I wrote Brian Singh is the founder of the Full Disclosure Now movement, a rapidly growing community dedicated to uncovering the truth about hidden technologies, military secrecy, SSP testimony, and mass awakening, and the global push towards further transparency. Brian mixes grounded research, insider testimony, and big picture geopolitical analysis, making him one of the sharpest minds in the disclosure world. And with all that said, I'd like to give him a big warm. And the website is fulldisclosurenowNetwork.org. And I'd like to give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Brian, thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again, Rob. Looking forward to the holiday season and all the change in weather and just everything that's happening around the world right now, especially in regards to full disclosure, my favorite topic. And then I hope, today in our brief hour here, I'm sure it'll go by really quickly. We get some live Q&A in because I love taking questions.
Yeah, we can even start with that. Well, let me ask you this: is there anything you wanted to cover? Any news or updates or anything like that you kind of wanted to go over before we,
I know that with like the Schumann resonance off the charts and this 3i Atlas stuff going on. I mean, a lot of people have definitely been feeling the energies. All the solar flares, the northern lights all the way down, and some people say, it's all natural. Other people are also attributing like HARP type effects and weather warfare. I just know from everyone that I'm speaking to in our community who kind of have their pulse on things, or they're in contact, or they have prophetic dreams, that sort of thing. It seems like the next several years are going to be really, really busy, and it's just going to ramp up. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of stuff to navigate, because to get to the new Star Trek future, you still have to watch kind of like the old decrepit society, dissolve away or crumble away, in so many different, variations. I mean, just watching people trying to get from the East Coast to the West Coast by airplane over the last couple of days, with the flight shutdowns, with the government shutdown, has been pretty horrendous.
Yeah, it's pretty it's crazy that Republicans and Democrats can't get along or whatever they're doing, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't even know, man. It's like, I wish we could get like some of our, I don't know, like some of our community in government positions, I mean, that's like, that's kind of like my wish, like,
well, to do that, there's like the organic and one by one process of electing people, like a popular politician who will take up that cause, or putting someone, electing someone who wants to, champion that cause. Fine. But really, I don't know, that's why I like to take the full disclosure movement ground up approach, is that we're not relying on a congressional hearings or them to pass a law, or any president, whatever administration. But when you have a real massive movement of awakened people who really understand what's going on, we've got the chronologies and the names and know where all the places are. Then it really shifts the whole atmosphere, the environment, so that change that people thought was unthinkable before can actually happen. And there are, stepwise things that we can do, and it's all happening at once, of course, but there's ways to focus and organize and network and concentrate and come together in a unity of will that will get us a lot farther and faster in this movement than if we're all just fighting each other and not able to discern who the infiltrators are, or people coming with less than the best interests of humanity ultimately, at heart.
yeah, I agree. And yeah, I was going to ask you, what changes are you see next year for like the Full Disclosure Now conference, or do you where do you like into?
So I'll make no secret of it. We're dealing with a lot of stalls in the banking system right now. There's a lot of corruption in banking. In fact, Chase Bank, I'll name them. It looks like there's a branch in Reno Sparks where they've been holding a significant amount of our money. And it's one thing to hold it and claim, oh, we need to investigate this and investigate that and validate it and verify it. Not only they've been taking forever and a day, but it's possible that there may be some. And so I'm just saying it's possible. It's for entertainment purposes only. There may be some shenanigans taking place behind the scenes, and with money being lent out against the money that's supposed to be frozen, and that's not apparently legal from what I understand. It's definitely not in the interests of myself or my team, who rightfully have right to those funds. And so either way, they've been quote unquote investigating. Oh, this is facts for like over a month now, frozen these assets, and then they keep shining us on. And so there's other banks coming online that are much more crypto friendly and advanced and modern and digital in a good way. They're not going to use their pen and paper, brick and mortar, old school system to paper you to death and then hit you with all sorts of paper charges. So yeah.
Do you think someone behind the scenes is targeting you? Like, I mean, and I wanted to ask you that. I didn't know how comfortable you are talking about that, but like, do you feel like over the past 2 years since you put this conference on and tried to make headway, do you feel like targeting's ramped up? And
I'd say it's ramped up. I'll say everyone in our community who's active in some way at getting forth any interesting information or someone's maybe assets in these programs, and therefore they want to target us and keep us silent and isolated for all those reasons. I think that for sure the targeting is only ramped up as my efforts and visibility and have increased. But I feel that I and everyone, like, we've always been targeted, not to sound paranoid, but then with that also, I believe, comes a lot of protection. I feel greatly protected. God's will be done. And so I'll be here as long as Source wants me here to do the job that I'm here to do. And if I stray from that path, then I think I'd be more on the dead meat side. So I'm really going to strive to stay on the path and to do my job.
Yeah. And then, like, I just wanted to ask you this real quick. If people want to donate or like help because I know you've helped out a lot of people in our community, like, and you've helped me too. Like, so if people want to donate back to the movement, like, is there a way that they can do that? Like, and
I mean, at this time, I tell them to donate to you. As we fight the corporate banking system and, deal with that mess. At this point, I'd rather just send the people the funds towards you. We're on your show anyway. And when, the tickets for my next 2026 event they come online. And when we get our live stream back up for last year's conference, people want to chip into that at fulldisclosure.live. Great. I appreciate it. But, I'd rather people direct resources to you at this time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, man. That's awesome. And I was assuming if you guys have questions for Brian, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll do like an open Q&A because we have an hour, and then Sean Bond's going on, but like we might as well take full advantage of it. And you guys can ask your questions, and it's always fun when you guys ask your questions. So so I know you were going to start the network, and I know you were going to start the cryptocurrency and stuff like that. Is that all still in play? It's
all been stalled with a lot of the freezing of the funds. I'll admit that. Having said that, there's been mixed blessings in that certain interests and people who did not have the movement or the networks, Full Disclosure Network, Full Disclosure Movement really comes first, and the network, I hope to play a part in that movement. Those people who weren't aligned, they've kind of revealed themselves over the course of this long wait of us being stalled. So really, there's been mixed blessings to it, and then other developments are happening, which I'll announce later, after they're completed. That I think will really even help better position the movement than it is now.
Yeah.
And in terms of being under attack, yes, I'm under massive attack in terms of people. We believe people are like literally some people have cast black magic spells at myself and some of our team, and so, but none of that in the long run, no weapons of evil, formed against me and our friends doing the work, that we're sent here to do shall prosper.
You even had like some kind of like shadow person in your house. I remember I remember this. You talked about it publicly. Like when we were on Christopher and Joanna Jacobs's podcast, you mentioned it. Like, did that go away, or and what happened with that? Did you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I will. Okay, so I'm not the one who has like the psychic sight with third eye open. Other people do. And so one housemate has definitely seen a shadow person around, and we not sure where that shadow being originated from, like how they locked onto us and what was here bugging us. I think we dealt with that being basically, sealed him up or sent him away somehow. But yeah, it was like malevolent and was basically trying to, exert negative energy towards the members of our household.
Wow, that's scary. Yeah, that's really scary. And then what I wanted to ask you about was, what do you think is going on with the current state of disclosure? Like, I had Penny Bradley on the other night, and like, where do you think we're at with disclosure? Do you think we're getting closer to like full disclosure now?
Absolutely. More and more people are coming out, and their testimonies are very much consistent for the most part. I mean, not everyone's consistent all the time, but in terms of like the secret space programs and people who know enough to talk about the breakaway civilizations and things like that, people like John Whitberg, um, among others, Riley Nuskin is another, Tim Seabury is another, Penny Bradley is another. More people in the general public are going to find one or the other of these. And then once you find Penny, for example, Penny Bradley's stuff, then you're going to find a lot of other people's stuff and vice versa and so on. Tony Rodriguez and the other podcasts like this one and Journey to Truth, and our good friend Jessica the Cryptid Huntress has been doing a lot of remote viewing on secret space program and time travel project type targets.
That's awesome. Yeah. And do you see like what do you think of the new whistleblowers? Do you think they're like any good? Do you believe them? And do you think like they're making any headway? I guess I kind of want to say is, do you watch any of these UAP government hearings? And do you think they're getting anywhere with them?
So, the thing is, that's the government and different factions essentially slow rolling disclosure, in my opinion, because they're talking about UAPs and stuff, but the U.S. government itself, many different groups and factions within it, for the longest time, have already known about the presence of ETs and the nature of a lot of the craft, going back to not just obviously the Eisenhower administration with the 1952, I believe it was, Greada Treaty signing behind his back, and our good friend Laura Eisenhower, great-granddaughter of his, speaks to this. It's like if you had factions of the government, including behind the president's back, but he was aware at least of these negotiations, then how excited am I going to get about 2025, congressional or Pentagon hearings talking about non-human intelligences and unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's just like it's insulting to anyone who's really spent time in the field, or at least looking at the phenomenon and seeing, well, the government doesn't know about it, but they've got these crash recovery teams. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good comment from Nathan Waste of Trash. He says normie podcasts have been dipping their toes in the SSP lately. He says we're at a precipice for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely there, Nathan. The enough of the normie podcasters who they themselves haven't been throttled, but they've been able to build up large mainstream audiences, and then now they're stumbling upon the real life Stranger Things and Star Wars and Star Trek and X, Y, and Z, and then they're able to broadcast the people who are in our full disclosure community to much larger and broader audiences, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Jason says even Kurt Metzger is being vocal about it. Like, I wonder what they're saying. See, I don't watch a lot of these normie podcasts, so I wonder what they're saying. It's like it's I
don't even know who Kurt Metzger is, so there you go.
Wait, who is Kurt Metzger? Why do I not know that name? Like, I mean, I know that name, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with like who he is. Like.
And then to answer Shelley's question, do I go on missions? I have no idea. First of all, with time travel and ET technology, for me, all bets are off. And then lots of people remember me, or enough that I've encountered remember me from the different projects and programs, but feel like I'm just so blanked out. I mean, I feel like I have a gift of intuition and pathfinding and those sorts of things, but do I have any active recall, like say John does, of an altar running around on Mars? No, I don't.
Yeah. No, Nathan says Kurt Metzger, I guess, is on the Jimmy Dore show.
Okay, Jimmy Dore. Okay,
Survivor and Dr. Ingalls some time ago. Okay.
So what I would say then is, I love Jimmy. And he's got a big audience, and then he's representing yet another alternative segment of media, where he was himself injured by a certain cocktail, and then he's made no secret about it since then. And he's been very, I guess you'd call him alt-right. Yeah. But cool alt-right, funny alt-right. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Candace Owens is going pretty deep on shit too. Do you watch her ever? Like, I heard she's pretty.
I don't. I mean, I'd say that she's more on the forefront for the mainstream media, like her and Russ Coulthart. Yeah. But again, until I start hearing people literally saying breakaway civilizations, Kruger, Nachtwaffen, Arasaka Corporation, cybernetic, MK Ultra, quote unquote, super soldiers, I'm not really going to pay that much attention, because we talk about the stuff like the stuff that they're talking about is like way back here in kindergarten, maybe first or second grade. And then we're all up here in like, seniors at least, if not going on to college, compared to them at least. And so it's until I even hear them speaking above a certain 10th grade level, like they're not even freshmen, right?
Yeah, dude, I love John Whitberg. I got to get a hold of him to do another show. Like I read his first book that I know he has 4 out now, supposedly, or he told me. And, I had him on with Ash Newskin. That was a great show.
Yeah, Riley Newskin, Ash. Yeah, yes, yep.
Yeah, I did that one on Rumble. But yeah, John's amazing with like what he's able to recall.
His recall is yes, it's huge. And so I actually am right now listening to his Breakaway series. If anyone out there who wants to know about the Breakaway civilizations, listen to what he has to say on his series of interviews, Breakaway series with Alexander Cherkasov. And I will put that, let's see if I can put that in our StreamYard chat. I'm watching part 3 right now. In fact, got it. That's on one of my tabs. And it's amazing. He's in fact on he speaks a lot about the Germans on Mars, and I think it's on episode 3 right here. And when the Russians eventually started getting there in like the 1960s, and the Germans had already been there, and then they've been employing time travel all this time to like really manipulate things. So it kind of can make things confusing to try to explain it from a linear perspective. But needless to say, the Germans seem to, with their Mars Defense Force and secret space programs, seem to have not only taken over really Mars, but also wiped out a significant portion of the indigenous raptors and spiders, giant spiders, like David Bowie sang of spiders on Mars, and also like the ant people and mantid people.
Yeah, and I was gonna say another person who's really kind of coming into their own is Drago Reed. Like every time I interview him, he seems to be getting more and more advanced, and not just like his own memories, but his overall knowledge of like how these programs work, the mechanics behind them, and what's happening to people. And I heard that when he speaks, he activates people. It's
Oh yeah, I heard at our conference this last July, people were getting activated in the audience. People talked about that, and which isn't a bad thing. People are like, "Oh my gosh, Drago's activating people." What it means is he is giving such detailed, on-point testimony that people who they themselves have been in the projects and programs, but their memories aren't as good. Well, that helps to trigger their memories. And that's where listening to other people's testimonies, if you're in the right frame of mind and you're ready for it, can be an amazing healing thing. A lot of the people, the detractors in the community, the trolls, I call them the losers club or loser squad, they will hurl tomatoes figuratively at us and say, "Oh, all these survivors of the programs just getting together to rehash their traumas and cry on each other's shoulders over and over." And it's like, that's maybe, I don't know, the conferences you guys are going to, but at our events this last 2 years, and then also the 2023 Montauk Adventure Tour before that, with a lot of just high proportion of survivors and experiencers in these programs and projects. Um, people are networking. We're using our abilities to assist each other and to dig in and to link each other with information and resources and other people. And, part of where we are today, right now, is it's a lot, and thanks to watching all the community work together and meet each other in person and get on each other's shows when they might not have been on before had they not met each other. That's really been amazing. Hey, thank you,
yeah.
Matthew. And speaking of, Matthew's been, presenter for the 2024 and 2025 events on the main stage.
Dude, I was at his speech. He got a standing ovation both times. He's yeah, he's pretty amazing. He gives a good speech. He's a good presentation. He really knows psychic. He knows like psychic abilities, and he knows how to like, he knows the body well too. He's like, dude, anytime I have a problem with like any physical element, I ask Matthew because like he really seems to know, you know what I mean? Like that stuff like really well. Like how many people can tell you about the pericardium? You know what I mean? I didn't even know that was even a thing that existed until, I met him, I don't know, but,
Well, he's got an amazing, literally interstellar education into the body and energetic bodies from, mantid beings and others, and his own experiences. And, none of that, I'm sure, you listen to Matthew's testimony, comes for free. It comes at a price. And so once you paid a price to get knowledge and abilities like that, it's great to see him using them and teaching what he knows to others.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about was Project Oblivion. Like, like even with the people that like I had beefs with, which was like, I didn't really have a beef with Elena Danan. We never really argued, but I mean, like, her people didn't like me. And then Kimberly McGeorge, didn't like me for a little bit.
Oh gosh, Kimberly McGeorge. Geez, name Dr. quote unquote Kimberly McGeorge and her hairdresser. She's actually literally, those are the two of the people hurling that epithet that we just get together and cry on each other's shoulders at these events, and who wants to go? Well, I want to go, but anyone else want to go to St. Pete Beach in Florida and chill on the beach and swim at night and have amazing presentations and dinners? And I don't know.
Oh, amazing.
I had a good time.
We all get to hang out afterwards. Yeah. And like
Oh
everybody
yeah,
talks.
Emma the cat's here. Hey Emma, great to see you. I'm a huge fan as well of her show, her podcast. Yeah,
Yeah. And she,
Anahazi dude's here. Oh, awesome. And then Joyful Jennifer and Julia Anchorhaven, excellent. And I
yeah.
hear Susan's in the audience. Brooksy
Yeah. It's fun.
Selena. Hey, hi Selena. Yeah, and everybody. Yeah.
Um, but where I was going with that is like, do you think Project Oblivion is affecting like the community a lot? Because it seems like there's a little bit of like arguments here and there with different people. And I was talking to someone and they said, well, maybe it was meant to happen. I don't know. Like, I don't.
Yes. So how about this? How about this? What's happening right now is as the Earth, we hit that 2012 phase. We're in the solar system going around the sun on the tip of one of the eighth spiral arm going around the Milky Way, and we're entering a higher energetic volume of space. We're getting bombarded by higher energetic gamma rays and whatever. And the light with those higher frequency beaming, the light, it's getting brighter in the room. And all the shadows and stuff and the illusions that we couldn't make out, it's too dim and dark, that's all being lit up. And as that's being lit up, all the contradictions are coming to the forefront. And as all those contradictions come to the forefront, now is the time for us to karmically resolve what we need to resolve to move on, learn those lessons. And really, that's part of the ascension, as I believe it, to use like Dolores Cannon, type QHHT terminology, which I'm a fan of. And basically, as the contradictions rise, there are going to be more and more people losing their shit. And then on top of that, people in our community who there's not just the everyday and past life karmic stuff, but there's like the starseed mission and exposing the darkness and bringing about full disclosure to achieve our collective Star Trek future. Maybe then on top of all the just contradiction resolving and karmic stuff coming to the forefront that we need to deal with, which is already going to be a handful and exhausting, then we're getting attacked and targeted and hit with voice to skull, synthetic telepathy, real life telepathy, dream attacks, astral attacks, remote viewing, hacks, people who are weaker getting hit with voice to skull and being told to mess with us, all of that stuff. And so I'd say all that's happening, and you got the Schumann resonance super high with the Earth's magnetic grid kind of weaker with huge solar flares that are getting hit with all sorts of stuff, and then we're getting 5G'd and weather warfared and chemtrailed, all that stuff. It's accelerating and it's hitting us harder. And my position on it is that if you're doing the work and if you're in right resonance, and you're taking care of yourself properly and you're aware, you're going to get through this one way or another. You're going to get through this. And if you're not doing those things, you might not get through this, and it's okay. There's just one life. We need to learn our lessons. And, right now I'm less concerned about like the individual lives. I mean, that might sound terrible. Like, of course I care, but I'm looking more at like the larger humanity. Like we all get to make our individual choices, but how about humanity as a whole? Well, that we have to decide that collectively.
Yeah. And then we kind of already covered on this with John and Drago, but do you see anybody else in the community that's delivering really good off-world testimony right now? Would you say maybe it's Jessica from the ACIO or I don't know. Like I'm just kind of Penny Bradley or like
Penny Bradley for sure. I don't agree with everything from the ACIO, but I do like Jessica and Peter, and I do agree with a lot of their stuff. So, but in general, just, really the main two sources I send people to, the main one is John Whitberg. His The Man with the Periwinkle Eyes ebook series, which is free, people. So, donate to him as well. It's simply amazing. It's mind blowing because when you read that series and then talk to people in our community who if you know who he's talking about in the community, you go and talk to them, their testimony lines up. If they went in the times where what he wrote about and then they do recall it, it lines up. Sometimes he'll write about stuff and I'll remember people and they themselves don't remember it. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But, for me, let me share my screen here.
Well, I just want to say one person real quick. I know you would agree with this too, Brian. Audrey Walters.
Of course.
I got to give her.
Audrey Walters is good. Of course, yeah. Her StarNet Link YouTube channel with her Space School series is amazing. So I would definitely refer people to her as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nathan. That was cool. Yeah, and yeah, you can share how I'll add it. Sorry.
And what did I say? I was going to take people to. Geez, I just forgot which link I was going to bring you to.
I'll take this link comment off the screen.
Okay, wait. If people can remember what link I said I was going to bring up, because now I forgot. Well, here, I'll stop sharing the screen until I remember. Yep, there's a Audrey's show right there. If anyone wants to pull up a link to the man with the periwinkle eyes, that would be good. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I know I was going to share. It wasn't a link. It was basically, and John and I, this is his recalls. He and I wrote up, let's see, a list of all the people he recalls, and then a list of people that he recalls him, but he doesn't remember them. Okay. And I'm just going to scroll down this real quick on this screen. It's 11 pages, people.
Do you want me to add it?
No, because we have to edit this and make sure it's okay for public consumption. But most of the people on this list are already public, so I'm not like outing people. But I mean, I got 11 pages of people. We haven't even filled in every entry. And then, so like for me as an investigator, and then I can go to any of these people and cross-reference them blind, just on the spot. And for the people who remember, a lot of them, like I'm getting a lot of the same hits. Like, not only I've talked about on this show, and David Purcell first talked about how he remembers certain people as astronavigators. He remembers me as an astronavigator on his ship. And he also remembers Susan Long, who likewise remembers him. Okay.
Yeah.
And then other people in our community, including Matthew Mornian, is in that mix there too. And then, what was it? Veronica Bartolini remembers me from the Hulk program along with Susan Long. And then Tim Seabury also remembers me as an astronavigator. Okay.
Wow.
In Nachtwaffen. And then both Tim and David Purcell have Nachtwaffen memories. This is Susan Long. So it's like the web just starts to like interconnect and fill in like a Kodak picture type thing.
Yeah, I did a show with David and Susan. Like I did, it was like that David and Susan on one time.
And I'm sure it was heavy because they told me about it, and the content, of some of the, what it was like and how our altars, not David and Susan down here, but their altars up there, got to interact. So if you listen to that interview, it's not pleasant. Was not pleasant.
Yeah,
but down here they've made a lot of amends and are cool.
Yeah,
and that's really important. It's part of the healing process. Is no matter what. Sorry, stop sharing my screen. No matter what we were put through in the programs and made to do to each other or others, all of that was under duress. I mean, unless it wasn't, and there are, I understand a few cases in our community where there were some people who, resisted less and went along with it a bit more, but I think I'm happy to say, from what I understand, most people were very resistant and weren't like, oh yeah, all about doing what they were made to do.
Yeah. This question's from Elizabeth. I can answer this kinda. She says, whatever happened to Veronica Bartolini? She's around. She posts in your Telegram group a lot, Brian, I noticed,
Yeah. She, in fact, I think she's writing a new book, and she has a whole series, and she was at our conference in July, and she messaged me. We're messaging back and forth just the other day. So she's fine as far as I know.
Yeah, I gotta write her down. I'm gonna write her and Audrey down. I want to get a hold of them for shows, for sure. I'm just gonna write that down real quick. Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep going through the. Keep going through the. To see if there's any other
Yeah, and
topic or.
Veronica did have some, and she made it public. She was dealing with some health stuff, but she's okay. She's good as far as I know.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just going through
Veronica's
the.
authentic. Veronica's
Yeah.
authentic. David Purcell remembers her. Susan remembers her. Tim Seabury. Um, I think John Whitberg as well. Um, yes, that's to name a few. Arkeem Ra, I think, might remember her, but I'm not sure.
I haven't heard from
But
Markeem in a while. Like I hope he's doing well.
he's been doing his show. I mean, he's been doing his show, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me see here. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions for Brian, put them in the chat. Let me see here. I'll go back to my questions now. What about consciousness and timeline manipulation? Like are we seeing any of that in like the community? Do you think?
Well, absolutely. All this targeting, all of the directed energy weapons, scalar attacks through the 5G cell networks and other stuff, and the weather warfare through the HARP and the NextRad and the SBX systems at sea and all that stuff. That's all meant to mind control, manipulate us. All the cocktails and stuff, and the ostrich cull. I mean, and Peanut the squirrel. All of that is to infect pain and misery and suffering and psychic distress. Because the other side, for their Luciferian demonic reasons, to them, bad is good or evil is good, and lower vibration is good. So everything, all of that, I mean, that's absolutely an issue, to manipulate the timeline. Having said that, they're not going to win, and it's kind of like forcing us to build up calluses and to break free. And so it's yeah, they're doing it, but they're not going to succeed. But yes, it definitely is there and is playing a role in what's going on around us today.
Yeah, and what do you think about like the geopolitical picture? Do you think that ties into everything?
Well, yeah. I mean, in fact, I always look at it from like, my picture is always like the individual, local, state or regional, federal or national, and then more like, regional in terms of countries, and then global, right? And then exopolitical, and then all the way up to, if that's like the ET level, and then up to like the God source angelic level, the real spiritual battles between, God source's side and Lucifer's side.
Yeah, this is a question from user P7K. I don't know. He says, do you give any credence to flat Earth theory? Like I've had Dave Weiss on my show, but like I think flat Earth might be a
so first of all, flat Earth, what does it help and what does it do, and what does the shape of our Earth have to do anything with the secret space programs, time travel manipulation, breakaway civilizations, inner Earth? Has anyone given us a picture of the bottom of this flat Earth? No. Okay.
Well,
So like I always want to see a bottom. Like come on.
Yeah, one thing I say, Brian, is I don't think the Earth's flat, but I think they're onto something with the ice wall. I think maybe because there's a no-fly zone in Antarctica. I was thinking, well, maybe they're
the reason why it's not that
know?
there's an ice wall. My understanding is that Antarctica, somewhere there in Antarctica, not only do you have the German breakaway base in New Schwabenland, you've got a large hole entrance that they can get into inner Earth, and that's like Admiral Byrd or whoever flew into it. There might be one at the North Pole as well, but the South Pole and Antarctica, apparently there's one there. And so that's definitely no fly zone. So there's a lot of ET technology and stuff like in the ice that's gonna emerge. There might be space arcs, stuff like that, like buried giant craft that contain lots of technology and archives that are immensely valuable.
Yeah. This is from the Anuhazi dude. He says, any info about Tataria and the mud floods?
Yeah. From what I can gather, Tartaria was a time, an empire, a region more in like that Eastern Russian Europe part, where there's a civilization that had etheric, energy and probably more psychic abilities activated and had access to more of what is now today's suppressed knowledge. And they were actively suppressed by the Luciferians, the Cabal, the Cult of Baal, as Anya Wick, niece of Jeffrey Epstein, has name dropped them, has outed them. Thank you to her. May God protect her and bless her. And they couldn't have it because if Tartaria was allowed to stay, it would have led to a higher timeline. They wouldn't be able to control us with like this oil, petroleum type, drug running human trafficking regime if people had free energy and our psychic abilities much more unlocked and an understanding of the exopolitical star situation where we're star seeds and from other planets and places and we're just incarnated here in this life, for example. And what I believe is that the negative forces wiped Tartaria off the map, not only but by using time travel, basically, by doing Montauk, Operation Rainbow Bridge, Project Phoenix type time travel missions to mess with their timeline and to effectively delete the memories of Tartaria and also use other technologies to trigger the mud flood. And so I think it's the Tartarian disappearances would probably be the number one largest Mandela effect for all of
Wow.
us
That's
is
interesting.
actually what it would be for me.
Do you think there's residue of that too? Like, there's definitely residue of like a Tatarian empire, right? Like, there's like,
Yeah, well, you've got the architecture that's still standing, and there's even been video of some of these like temples with like the etheric antennas, like where they're like sparking and
yeah,
stuff. And the reason, and it's like the same type of like spark gap and like emitter thing and like resonator and then blah blah blah, then down to the ground. It's like always the same design over and over and over and over. Like at a certain point, I'm just like, okay, there's probably something there, and people have spoken about it. People have researched far more into it than I have, and I give them enough credence there to say, yeah, that's probably what it is.
yeah. I interviewed like Michelle Gibson. She's pretty amazing with that stuff. She seems to have found like that there was like also like an ancient civilization here in America too, because it seems like some of the architecture is like interesting here as well.
Well, of course, because before the natives as we know them, like like the Hopi and all that, there were definitely other peoples here on these lands, and so this kind of feeds all into that as well, I believe. And the mud floods were probably used to wipe out a lot of that because some of that Tartarian architecture, what do you know, is over here as well. But I think for what you're speaking to, the Grand Canyon would be the cutoff areas apparently where they found like the wing makers, the Sonoma Aero like club or whatever. They found Egyptian type artifacts and caves within the Grand Canyon. And then I believe Jessica, the cryptid huntress, I'm not sure, she might have done that as a target. And then you've got like people reporting on an underground lizard city underneath Los Angeles.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So there's lots of evidence of buried civilizations here already. And then just throughout Latin Americas, you've got like the Huehuelos type stones. And then, in Hawaii and the Polynesians, they've got like similar type beings, and then you've got the Babylonian type winged lions all over the place and different time periods and different types of hieroglyphics all over. And so, obviously our history is nothing, our real history is nothing like what we've been taught. And then people in our community, we're the closest out there, out here to knowing what basically really is a deal.
Yeah. Elizabeth has a good question that, or she's got a good comment. I've had Amanda Jonah Hart on my show about this. Amanda Jonah Hart's trying to fight out against the data centers in her local community. And then I looked it up and I found out they're building data centers, in fact, here in Pittsburgh. And Elizabeth says here, she says, data centers are going up a few miles from my house, I think on a keyway line. What's interesting is
Yeah.
I don't understand what these data centers are for. Like, what the hell are, like, I don't even know.
So
Like,
it's in basically, Rob, it's an AI arms and money race. And so countries like China, they're really apparently upping their AI and quantum computing game. And then the West doesn't want to fall behind, not just from an AI tech military even standpoint, but then also from an economic financial standpoint. And then with the advent of AI, it's kind of like a gold rush stampede. And then just like how the gold rush of old took its toll on the environment and water and trees and all the resources, AI in the data centers is doing likewise with the vast amounts of water and energy consumption, among other
wow,
things.
wow,
You
that's
know, and so yeah, I'm kind of like, well, do I like it? No, not really. Do I know it's going to happen? Yes. Do I feel that, the better we do the full disclosure movement and get access to clean energy, for example, then great. Who cares if you have a data center if it doesn't suck water and energy? You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so how are we going to get clean energy through full disclosure and people knowing it exists for one, and then demanding it effectively?
Yeah, I agree. This is a funny comment from Jerry Lahane. Jerry Lahane says, "If I was a lizard person, I would eat the Wi-Fi's like a hecklefish." That's funny.
Well,
But,
I'm sure both AJ and Gino and their amazing production team of the Y Files, they'd appreciate that. And on the Y Files, to give a shout out to AJ and Gino and Hecklefish. They did an amazing episode, I believe it was, on the underground catacombs of LA, I believe.
yeah, yeah. I've had Gene Decode on my show, and Gene gets into some interesting stuff about what's going on underground. It seems that there's a whole. I think me and you have talked about this, but there's a whole magweb chain system that goes all over the world, and then not
So
just that.
John, yeah,
Yeah.
John Whitberg says that maglev system, a lot of it's responsible by, or rather, it's put up by. I don't know if it's. Oh, geez, now I'm forgetting. Roundtree Group, Roundtree
Yeah.
International, and that off-planet breakaway civilizations. Also, a lot of the planets that have the maglevs, it's Roundtree because they're part of the ICC, Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate type corporations, along with Arasaka Robotics, I name dropped earlier. And yeah, they. I'd love to speak with Gene Decode if you could make that introduction, and then he reports on getting intelligence that a lot of the underground bases, they are being cleaned out, and it's not all completed, but it is happening, and it's a big job, and there's lots of bases and lots of bad guys, as it were, and lots of children to save still probably. But I would definitely love to speak with Gene Decode.
Yeah, I can set that up for sure. I'm going to ask him to do another
Yeah.
show here soon. So
Oh, okay.
let me see here. Um, Frank just asked, Frank, Holistic Breakthrough Solutions with Frank asked how they could support the disclosure movement. I would just say support all your creators that are trying to bring it forward, and not just me and Brian, but everybody, like all the people we talked about, like try to support everyone in the movement, I don't know. What would you say, Brian? Like,
Well, absolutely that, Rob. And then a lot of people out there, each one of us, we have our individual gifts, talents, abilities, testimonies, resources, connections. And so, there's a general work of reaching out to all the survivors and experiencers and learning their testimonies and then helping educate other people and then linking them up with other people. You can be a resource to other people out here in our community. And then you yourself may have specific resources or testimony or whatever. And then feel free to reach out to me. I mean, directly. I'm a self appointed volunteer, right? I'm a volunteer organizer advocate for the full disclosure movement. I don't consider myself the founder, really, Rob, of the network, maybe, that I'm putting together. The movement itself, it goes back to Phil Schneider and before, right?
Yeah.
People who gave their lives. Because when we say full, the people who wanted to reveal everything. And I could never take credit for that starting with me, but I'll say that I'm here to be kind of like the next wave to do what I can with the rest of us.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people back in the 90s lost their lives, like Carla Turner, she was investigating like the alien abductions, and then Phil Schneider, and, James Bartley's mentor, Barbara Bartholic. And I think John Mack was murdered. Honestly, I really do, or something was happened with that, I always say, who walks out into traffic? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, or, he was in another country and he didn't supposedly look, and, he got hit by a car. I mean, something just doesn't seem, right.
Remote viewer Pat Price, who was probably taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people, and then there's even that one testimony of a man in black that people can look up online. It's basically the written testimony, but read by a friend of his after that person died, and he talks about, in fact, getting recall of unaliving by strangulation a female ufologist. Max Spears as well. In fact, my good friend Sarah R. Adams, she has emails from the Polish police indicating that they agree with her in who probably really did kill Max. It wasn't Sarah, but it was someone who is paying someone else to feed Max substances. That while Max was at a UFO disclosure conference in Poland with other people like a good friend, Miles Johnston, there were people who were paying one lady apparently to feed Max prescription drugs that she'd been paid to go over the border to Czechoslovakia to get, and then to bring to Poland to then get Max on while he was in a very weakened and disoriented state. And that's obviously not cool, but it shows you how high the stakes get and how high they really still are.
Yeah, like even for example, Renetta Jones. I don't think she got as popular as she could have been. You know what I mean? For the intel that she was bringing out. I don't know. She just like.
Well, what it was is they were on the forefront. They're bringing out the information the best they could, and in that time, the other side, they weren't being hampered so much as they are now. They were basically acting with impunity. And it was a very dangerous time to be a researcher, a ufologist, whistleblower. And not that it's not now, but I think it's gotten a lot better. And the more and more of us come out and stand tall and speak eloquently, effectively, the safer it's going to get. So I was asking about Arasaka Corporation. So they're like a corporation that's part of, especially big in the Japanese breakaway civilization, and then I believe Riley Nuskin and John Whitberg, they say that the Japanese breakaway civilization apparently that refers to itself as the Empire of 1,000 Suns. And then I would say that Arasaka Corporation would be like, it's like you've got Japan and Tokyo, right, is its thing, and the Japanese people, but then you've got like Toshiba and Mitsubishi and Sony. And these are major Japanese corporations that wield a lot of economic and corporate and technical and even military power and influence just here on this world through, their part of being Japanese society. Well, I'd say Arasaka, that's how you look at it, as Arasaka. Is there like Arasaka turf? I don't know. Maybe if they bought their own planet, but it's more like Arasaka is probably operating on every planet in the Japanese breakaway civilization, which would be a lot. And then the German breakaway civilization as well. The Confederation of German Free Worlds or something like that. and there's a German name, obviously John knows, um, and because John says that the Japanese and German breakaway civilizations are really joined at the hip.
Yeah. That makes sense because they were, yeah. Well, this was amazing, Brian. And guys, don't go anywhere because, this will be.
Yeah, Sean Bond next is one of his sweatshirts and hoodies. With him and Isha, they sell these at Sean Bond's psionicleague.com. And check it out. It's purple. Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming on next, guys. He's going to do some abundance readings. So, and I'm sure he'll show some of his ET artifacts and all that stuff. So, yeah, but this was awesome, Brian. I always love having you on, and I consider you a good friend. And, yeah,
do
you want anything you want to promote? And thank you, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, I hope everyone gets to stay on for Sean. Give him my love. And, you can stay tuned to fulldisclosure.net. And, that'll be a good way, or reach out to me directly on Facebook. Type in my name, Brian Sang, and also my nickname, Solar Bee, and that'll help you find me. And then really just send me a direct message if there's some way, somehow, that you want to participate in the full disclosure movement.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in a few minutes on a different link with Sean Bond. And have a good night. And thank you, Brian. Good night, everyone.
Good night, all. Thank you.